John Beverly, the Candyman, the businessman with a conscience, on LICMC.net radio every Saturday at 3 p.m.
Hello, everyone. This is John Beverly, the businessman with a conscience, here at the Alchemalon Village, where each one reach one, each one teach one. One brick, one building, one block at a time. And as we often say, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And we show that we care by the things that we do. And today, for the last 3, 4, 5 weeks or so, I've been focusing on family and teaching love and sharing love. And most important, those the people that's important to us in our lives, mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers, cousins, uncles, and aunts, significant ones, whatever. It's very important that we let them know today. The last couple of weeks I spoke about you're going to miss me when I'm gone. And not necessarily that I'm leaving here, but I'm talking about not only myself, but I'm talking about each and every one of you. You need to practice love, teaching, holding, caring, sharing your feelings with one another. Because when you standing in that pulpit or on the side at the Napoleon talking and talking about how much you miss and the things that you used to do, that's exactly what you're doing, what you used to do, because that's a shell that you're talking to. And we're actually talking to the people that's left here. And they need to know how much you care, how much you feel, what you think about them. Like I say, take a little time out. Take each other out to dinner. We got different businesses and different things that are here that different ones have. My personal friend, very close friend of mine, London, Washington. And London has always shown that she cared by the things that she do. We don't talk all the time, but once a week we do the broadcast and what have you. But as I was saying, London and I, we have the utmost respect for each other, her children, her daughters, her sons. We have built a relationship and we have known each other for over 25 to 30 years or so. And during that time, we often would talk to each other, even when we're not doing a show, and, just let each other know that we appreciate one another. And, I'm often saying things like that. Even our family members, our friends that's in business, we have to show them that we care about not only ourselves, but what they're doing as well. I was talking to my partner, Mr. Kofi, earlier today, and there's strength in numbers. And as I was telling him, my attitude when I first went in business that I was going to put everybody out of business. Unfortunately, I didn't know any better. But during that period of time and over the years, I learned better. I learned that we need each other. And it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about us. And most important, we have to share the things that we do, share information. Because if I was the only person in business, over here on Hopper, what if I'd have put everybody out? The only time somebody would come over here is when they would come to get something from me. But if we have a host of businesses, as such as a sandwich shop, a liquor store, a gas station, a wig shop, and others, and each one of them is a drawing card. So when someone comes to see one of those business or the other, and we begin to help one another to stay in business, it's what I say a domino effect. Each one reach one, each one teach one, like we often say right here. And there's strength in numbers. If I'm the only one with the other four, if it's four other business, now we are four strong or three strong or five strong. And we can come together and make something happen. But me by myself, I can only do so much. You can only do so much. And on yesterday, we did our little barbecue, our fundraiser. And as my customers was coming in and they began to patronize me and they would tell me how much they would appreciate me. Well, just as well, I made sure that they knew that I appreciated them as well. And like I often say is that it's not what you say, it's what you do. So I had some that liked the lamb, and I would throw an extra lamb chop in their plate. And some of them liked it the ribs. I cut an extra bone or two and throw it in there. And then I even had some say, "You don't have to do that." And I said, "I know I don't, but I just want you to know that I appreciate you, that you could choose to take your money and go to any restaurant or McDonald's, White Castles, or whatever and spend it. But when you choose to come here, I want you to know that I appreciate you. And I could take those few bones that I gave away here, gave away there, and made a couple of extra dollars, but my customers wouldn't know that I care and how I feel about them. So all of my customers, they're not just customers. We have formed what you call a relationship. I have relationships with my customers. They become family as well as friends. And I make sure that they know I need them. They don't need me. So, like I often say, we have to support one another. If you know somebody that's in business, go support them. And I told this story once before. There was a Chinese guy that was down the streets from me, and there was a time, you in business and you figure everybody think that just because you're in business, you're making money. But sometimes you make it and sometimes you don't. And there are slow seasons and then there's up seasons as well. And my mother used to would tell me, she said, "Well, John, if you're doing good today, just hang in there because tomorrow, the next day or so, you may not be. But just as well, if you're doing bad today," she also said, "just hang in there. Tomorrow, the next day, you're probably going to pick up." And the Chinese guy that I was telling you about that owned the wig shop, he would often come down there, and sometimes, and I didn't know any better because when he would come, I would look out for him. Sometimes he needed a little help financially, sometimes he needed a little advice or whatever. And I shared with him. And if I had a couple of dollars to help him do what he needed to do, because I realized at one point at time or the other that I needed help myself and I had to go to people. But over the years, there come a time when I become a little bit less fortunate. So I definitely understood where he was coming from because when in his hour of need, I was there for him. And not knowing and wanting and wishing somebody could be there for me and didn't know who, here he come to my rescue. I was unfortunately I had somebody had stole my car, so I was borrowing people cars for about a month or two. And I guess he was, kind of observant, so he noticed something was going on. So he come down and asked me one day. He said, "You need a car?" And I looked at him and said, "Yeah, but right now I can't afford one." He said, "I'm not trying to sell it. That's why, I don't want to borrow your car because I don't want to be responsible." He said, "No," he said, "I want to give you a car." And I looked at him like he was crazy, but then I had to entertain that thought because I needed a car. And they said, "You never look a gift horse in the mouth. You don't know where your blessings come from or gonna come from. You just keep sowing seeds, you keep being nice, you keep doing things for others, and sooner or later, it's gonna come a time in your life where you're gonna need somebody, and the people that you're looking for it to come from, they're not gonna be there. But the least expected, that's who pops up." And that Korean guy gave me a New Yorker. I think it was an 85 or 86, 87. It was about 9 or 10 years old. But he gave it to me and he told me it had a gas leak. And I took it to the shop. He said, "All you got to do is get the gas leak. It runs and everything." Well, I took it to the shop and the guy looked at it, and God knows my finances wasn't that great, but I figured I need to make that investment. And as he looked at it and he fixed it, and he called me back and he said, "I got your car fixed." I said, "Well, what was wrong with it?" He said, "You had a gas leak. There was a gas line." I said, "Well, how much owe you?" He said, $35. Man, you talking about, they say, you could have shouted. I could have shouted because I got a free car and it didn't cost me, it was running, but to make it run like it's supposed to and have no more issues for a while, didn't cost me but $35. So that Korean came to my rescue and he was the least expected. I wasn't expecting him to do it. And actually, when he came down, I said to myself, here we go again, because I thought that he was needing something or wanting something from me. But actually, he was coming to be a blessing to me. And he was. So I'm just saying that we have to be careful how we treat people. what we do to people, how we deal with them. And like I say, most important, try to build a relationship with your neighbors. I got a neighbor, Cliff, and we have been neighbors for the last 6, 7 years or so. And a couple of times it snowed, and I dreaded going out there. And by the time I got my clothes on and got ready to go out to shovel the snow, he had blowed my snow, the driveway, the walkway, and everything. And I said, wow, that was nice of him. So the next time I said I was going to return the favor, but before I can get up that time, he had did it again. So finally, I got a snowblower, and I began to return the favor. So, like I say, you have to be careful how you treat people. You don't never know who's going to be there or when they're going to be there, because I've gotten up in the age now. I can't be doing all that kind of stuff. And sometimes my wife tell me, say, you kind of getting to walking like your daddy. My daddy was 90 years old, so that's after I do my little barbecuing. But all I'm saying is, take the time out, show some love, express it. It don't cost nothing for you to tell somebody I appreciate you, for you to tell your wife that you love her, your children, and give them a big hug. And every now and then, when you can afford to, take them out to dinner. There's nothing wrong with that. And even in business, I would encourage you other businesses, just to practice. I'm not telling you what to do or how to do it, to run your business. But it's been very instrumental to me, because when I do for people, it always come back one way or the other. If it don't come back to those people in particular, it comes back to somebody else. And never yet have I regretted giving a customer an extra bone, or extra uh, piece of steak, or extra lamb chop, or a chicken dinner. I've had guys that walking up and down the street. My friend that you haven't seen or heard from him in a little while, Elder Piaki, he bought a gentleman a dinner yesterday, which was $20. But he was also the same guy that at one point in time, he wouldn't buy you a pop or give you a glass of water, because he had that kind of attitude. But he said something about being around me encouraged him to start doing things for others. He realized that it was more than just him in the world, and just like he needs, sometimes there's others that need. And in your hour of need, you never know who's going to be there for you. So hopefully today, I said something to encourage you. And thank you for listening to John Beverly, the businessman with a conscience, here at the Alcumalon Village, where each one reach one, each one teach one. One brick, one building, one block at a time. And thank you, and have a great day.
John Beverly, the Candyman, the businessman with a conscience, on LICMC.net radio every Saturday at 3 p.m.